Hi everyone, it's K-Red, and welcome to my 2025 Peaceful Patterns Weekly Challenge. By creating a new tile each week, together we can learn something new, but most important, find some peace and calm in the chaos of this world. Hey everyone, this week's pattern is Cubine. It's an official Zentangle pattern and it is a lot of fun. And even though it is great fun and I have been wanting to do this desperately for weeks, I have been super critical of myself on this tile. So here's one that I had previously made. There's a lot that I really like about it, but I'll be honest, in editing, I just am having problems getting past that internal critic in myself. So I decided that for this time, I am going to go ahead and try to make another one. We're going to redo it. As you can see, I gave myself just a little bit of a head start. I used a ruler and I made some squares. Now they're still not perfect, as you can see. They don't need to be for me, but I just need to give myself a good head start so I could be as successful as possible. As always, I combine some of my steps. I combined them even from last time. So last time I did just the squares and then the red lines. I don't think I need that step or that prompt in the future just for me. I'm very familiar with this. This is just a reminder. So all I'm doing is from the top right to the bottom left, I am making a line. As I watch Marie and Rick make this in quite a few online videos, their recommendation is to go from top right to bottom left and not to do a straight line through them. I am going to believe and trust, of course, that they know better than me, and I am trying to do it that way. It does make that small wave in the line, probably because my original squares aren't great. This pattern is deceptively easy. But the reason I call it deceptively easy is because it's easy to look a little bit sloppier. So if you are like me, who sometimes can get after themselves for not having perfect lines or great stops, this can be a little bit of a challenge. But I think it's a challenge that's good for us, and the product is great. Even down here, my eyes noticing the different shapes I didn't measure well, they will be perfect. You'll see it'll all work out well. So I'm going to go ahead. This is step 1, or what I'm calling step 1. I'm going to go ahead and reproduce that in the second square here in the black ink. And what this does is it lets the next step be done in red ink, so I will know what the next step actually is easier. And this will be really pretty standard to anything you see online. All right, so there's the step done. Look, my eyes already caught why to go right corner to corner, but it will be okay, Kathy. We need to be kind to ourselves, don't we? Not criticize ourselves as much. I imagine most of us criticize ourselves far more than we criticize our neighbors. So what we're going to do is, this is the middle point right here of the triangle, in my opinion. I'm going to go down just from that middle point, so probably maybe the 2/3 point, and I'm going to make a square. Turn your paper if you need to, and then we're going to color in that square. And that's really all there is to this. Now this is a pattern that definitely needs shading, and this down here will be step 3 where I'm going to show the shading. But from here I'm going to do the same thing over and over again. A little less than half for these, straight across, and we're following this line and this line. So if your line's a little curved, then make your square inside a little curved. But we're going to try hard to follow that, to be parallel to that, and to be parallel there. Okay, so now that I have that first row done, let me just go ahead and get through the rest, and I'll be right back with you. All right, so that gets us past number 2. All right, so that finishes up that step. So I made the squares off screen, but we're going to make the squares. Those squares are important. Then we're going to add in a diagonal line from the top right to the bottom left of each square. And then after we've done that, about 2/3 from the center down, we're going to put our square. Now for this example, we're putting my square in the same spot each time. But obviously you don't have to. You could put your square towards the top or somewhere else and it would have given a different dimension. But this is what we're going to do for this. So now let's listen to some more music, do some more fast forwarding, and I'll get us all cut up on step 3, starting with the diagonal lines. And just before I move on, I treated this bottom row as if it was a rectangle instead of a square. So then, because my critical mind is just killing me today for some reason, I grabbed a brush pen. I'm going to take that line and I'm going to give myself a much thicker border. It's going to cover up a multitude of sins, and I'm hoping that it can stop some of my internal dialogue that is really just being hypercritical today. We all have days like that, right? We all have days where we're just a little bit harder on ourselves or just a little bit harder on others. So when we recognize those days, just take a moment, take a breath, and then try to give yourself some grace. Try to do something that will help have a little grace. Looks like this brush pen is just about done. Thankfully, I just bought a couple more, so it's perfect timing on there. And it already cleans it up just a little bit, makes me feel a little bit better. You can see a lot of ink smearing on my paper today. So we're going to give this just a moment to dry, and then we'll continue on making the squares. And when I make my squares, I turn the paper completely on its side. I like to make that down on the side, and then I turn it just a little to make that one. To me, this is the most comfortable way to make these squares. And I'm only going to do 4 here. And then the difference that we're doing on these is we're going to make our squares just a little bit different heights. So on this one, I did it about the quarter. So on the next one up, let's go just a little bit higher. So we're just above the half, and we'll do that for 3. And then for the biggest one at the end, let's just go almost all the way to the top. And my reasoning for this is I want us to see what the different shadings look like so I can have those prompts as I move forward. So for these 4, we're going pretty much half, maybe just under. Then for these 3, we're going up. And on these 2, it's practically the top. And then we always just go matching this left border down. So because my lines are straight, it's going to go straight down. But you can do this with a completely curved line, and you would just follow the shape of the border to the left. So let's do it one more time. 4 of them down below the 3rd, 3 of them up, and 2 of them practically at the top. I'm not really sure what I want to do on the bottom ones, mostly because they're so cut off, but let's just do it the same. Just below, just above, and then way at the top. Okay, so those are the squares, and you can already see the change in the dimensions from here, from the small squares to the medium and to the large ones. And you can see that really it's as simple as a small square. And we'll erase these later, but it's very important that this line right here matches this line right there, and that this line up on top matches this line down on the bottom, that they're the same direction. So if it's curved on top, it's curved on the bottom, just like that. For now, I'm going to leave those arrows in there. They might be a good prompt for me in the future. So I'll start with shading on this one, and you can pick whichever of these you decide you want to shade. Just do them the same within the project is normally what I do. And let's go ahead and let's just pick this right side to shade. And put a little bit of pencil down. Those, it's just so little. Then come back with our little blender. I always like it. I think it looks better after it's blended. And then you get this great look, and we'll just add a little shading, I guess. This great look to it. Now we talk about having the extra graphite still on the blender, so as you can see, I can go down and blend really 3 more. This would be probably not enough for that one. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of pencil. To each. And then we'll take a look at it as a whole. Now I am, especially on these little ones, continuing up, and I don't know if we will be able to zoom in enough to see. Let me grab a different eraser. But if I can zoom in enough, you could see that by doing that, I actually clipped that corner that shouldn't be shaded. So it's up to you how exact your work needs to be. I like to have some continuation from the one above it. I think it makes it look like they blur well, but I do think that corner needs to be how that corner is. So if you're going to blend outside, just blend outside in the black areas. If you need a little extra space to blend in, or you have a little bit of a larger blending tool than the project maybe would want. And remember, you can always go back in with your eraser and clean it up, especially if you have one of these great mono zeros. I'll try to make sure that they're in there. They last forever, so they are a little pricey, but they last a very long time. I use them all the time and they last great. So when you get to a point to splurge a little, I think that is definitely an item worth splurging on. Let me know if you guys are interested in a video that talks about what supplies I use, what I've spent money on that I thought was worth it, and what I spent money on that maybe wasn't. Then this is just a Pentel regular school eraser. But let's go ahead and just clean up some of this extra ink and graphite on the paper so it looks just a little bit cleaner. And I went ahead and did away with those arrows, that's fine. And there we go. The before and the after. I think I will be much happier that I went back in and made my lines a little cleaner and took a little moment longer. And this pattern, as I mentioned before, is called Cubine. It is a official Zentangle pattern. And as always, tanglepatterns.com is where you can find it. So let me know what you think. Let me know how you like it. Let me know how you deal with your critical internal voice. And I hope that you are kind to yourself and kind to others, as I try to be and don't always succeed at. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.